Imagine sitting down at your laptop at like 4:10 in the morning.
Oh, wow. That is early.
Right. The house is completely silent, the world is asleep, and you are ready to just pour your thoughts into a project.
Sounds pretty peaceful, actually.
It does, but then you open your workflow and your highly advanced AI assistant has fundamentally forgotten who you are.
Oh, that's a nightmare.
Totally.
Yeah.
I mean, it's attributing your ideas to someone else, misinterpreting your tone, and get this, it's aggressively altering the sound of your own voice.
Yeah, that would completely derail a work session.
Exactly. So today we're taking a deep dive into some really fascinating unedited chat logs between a creator named Murty and his AI assistant. The AI goes by Little Bird or sometimes Max.
And these logs are amazing because they give us a granular look at Murty's early morning routine.
Yeah, his highly focused block of time.
Right. From exactly 04.0 to so 5.00 a.m. India Standard Time. He actually calls this his monster session window.
A monster session. I love that term.
Yeah, it's when he does the deep, undisturbed work required to prepare his daily project, which is called Morning Walk with Murty.
And when you're reading through these logs, you quickly realize this material is not just, a standard tutorial on how to make a show.
No, man, not at all.
It is an absolute masterclass in building a digital ecosystem and creating what they call a frictionless legacy.
That's a great way to phrase it.
So our mission for this deep dive is to really explore how a creator balances raw human authenticity with high-level AI automation.
Because that's the big struggle right now.
Totally. We're going to look at how they solve massive modern problems like generative audio overprocessing, digital identity crises, and data hallucinations. Okay, let's unpack this by starting with the most immediate, tangible hurdle Murty faces.
Getting his audio to sound like a real human being.
Yes. Because the core concept of Morning Walk with Murty relies entirely on intimacy.
Exactly. The listener is supposed to feel as though they are literally on a morning walk alongside him.
Just hearing his unvarnished, authentic thoughts.
Right, so the audio aesthetic dictates the entire psychological experience for you, the listener.
But when he tries to run his raw audio through Adobe's enhanced speech tool, which is, an incredibly powerful industry standard AI.
The results are absolutely disastrous.
They are so bad. Because Murty naturally has a low-volume male voice.
Right.
Instead of just making that voice louder, the AI tries to completely reconstruct it.
It adds this heavy artificial bass-boosted resonance.
Yes. And the AI assistant, Little Bird, perfectly dubs this booming sound the boss tone.
The boss tone. It's so accurate.
It really is. It's like, imagine applying an aggressive, hyper-smooth Instagram beauty filter to a candid, unposed photograph of a friend.
Yeah, it just strips away the reality of it.
Exactly. The software might technically remove every shadow and blemish, but it completely destroys the authenticity of the moment. The person stops looking, or in this case, sounding like themselves.
Right.
Isn't it profoundly ironic that in the age of advanced neural network AI, the best solution for his audio is actually an older, simpler tool like Audacity?
What's fascinating here is that this is a textbook example of AI overprocessing.
Oh, totally.
And it comes down to understanding the underlying mechanics of your tools. Because Adobe's enhanced speech is a generative model.
Meaning it doesn't just turn up the volume.
Exactly. It analyzes the audio, compares it to a massive training data set of what a quote-unquote good broadcast voice should sound like, and it practically tries to rebuild the human vocal cords from scratch.
Just to match that generic aesthetic.
Right. But Audacity, conversely, performs traditional algorithmic sound engineering. Little Bird advises Murty to just use Audacity's amplify or normalize function.
That's simple.
Exactly. Think of the audio as water in a glass. Audacity just pours a little more water into the same glass. It raises the ceiling of the volume without changing the shape of the container.
So the fundamental character of Murty's voice remains untouched.
Yes. Little Bird still values Adobe, but strictly for its highly accurate text transcription engine.
So the strategy becomes let the generative AI do the tedious paperwork of transcription,
Right.
but rely on simple mathematical amplification for the actual sound engineering.
And this technical distinction actually serves a massive empathetic goal for the listener.
Yeah, consider the physical environment of Murty's target audience. He is heavily focused on his students.
Especially those from the Antaryami VA Academy.
Right, and other virtual assistants. These are individuals who are likely listening while they are walking, commuting, or actively typing with both hands.
The AI refers to this listening state as hands-free discovery.
Hands-free discovery. I love that concept. Because if you're immersed in a task, the last thing you want is a jarring volume spike.
Or that booming boss tone suddenly vibrating in your earbuds.
Right. You shouldn't have to break your concentration to fumble with your phone's volume buttons. By taking a few extra minutes to manually amplify the audio in a simpler program, Murty removes a layer of friction.
Because the audio is now clean and authentically Murty, the transcription software can produce a highly accurate text document.
But, transitioning from a clean audio file to a raw, messy text transcript introduces a totally different architectural problem.
Yeah, how does an AI actually track who is speaking in a plain text document?
Especially one completely devoid of traditional name tags.
Right. And Murty notices this exact issue during his 4.10 a.m. session.
The AI had previously been confusing his dialogue with other people in his transcripts.
It would mix up his words with a contact named Shikanth Pavisetti, or attribute his teachings to his own students.
But then suddenly the AI just stops making these errors.
And this sudden accuracy isn't the result of a generic software patch from a tech company.
No. Littlebird reveals that this is a highly specific personalization update.
Built entirely within their internal assistant notes.
Yes, they solve this identity crisis by constructing a three-pillared framework to teach the AI how to recognize Murty.
And the first pillar is a visual anchor.
I really love the mechanical simplicity of this. The AI's core instructions now contain a strict spatial constraint. It basically says, in snapshots, Murty's messages are on the right.
It is like handing the AI a floor plan of a house and telling it, Murty only ever speaks from the living room.
Exactly. By establishing the right side of the screen as Murty's designated digital home, the algorithm doesn't have to guess who is speaking based purely on the flow of the conversation.
It has a geometric rule to anchor its understanding.
Right. But geometry alone isn't enough, obviously.
No, which leads to the second pillar, contextual recognition.
Because an AI doesn't read text the way you or I do.
Exactly. It maps semantic relationships and token associations.
Yeah.
Littlebird explains that it has learned to map Murty's quote-unquote world.
So the system has mathematically associated the entity Srikanth with the concept of the Raymond Shop chain.
And it has linked the concept of students to VA mentoring.
So when the AI scans the text, it cross-references the spatial role, who is on the right side of the screen, with these semantic webs to verify the speaker's identity.
Yes.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting, because the third pillar introduces a concept called notion calibration.
This part is wild.
It is. Murty consistently feeds the AI clean, finalized podcast transcripts, saving them into Notion.
Which acts as a spatial database, essentially a second brain for his digital life.
Right. And because the AI is constantly ingesting this high-quality, verified text, it claims to have developed an ear for Murty's specific vocabulary and his quote-unquote spiritual tone. Now, I have to push back on that.
Oh, I know where you're going with this.
Right. Like, can an AI, which is just a mathematical probability engine, actually understand something as deeply subjective and human as a spiritual tone just from pixels on a screen?
It's a fair question.
Or is it simply scanning for buzzwords like mindfulness and peace?
Well, we have to separate human consciousness from machine learning architecture.
Okay, that makes sense.
The AI experiences absolutely no emotion. It doesn't feel a spiritual tone. However, it does analyze the syntax, the sentence length, and the pacing.
So it's looking at the structure.
Exactly. It maps the statistical probability of how Murty constructs his sentences when he is in a reflective philosophical state versus the blunt, direct syntax he uses when giving logistical instructions to a virtual assistant.
Ah, I see. So to the AI, a spiritual tone is just a highly recognizable mathematical pattern of phrasing?
Yes. And when you layer these three elements, the visual floor plan, the contextual semantic webs, and the statistical tone patterns, you create an incredibly resilient digital model of a human identity.
But that resilience is constantly tested by the friction of the real world. I mean, the logs show the AI noting a need for extreme vigilance.
Particularly regarding a physical location called the Archirevula setup.
Right, because if Murty works from that specific location, he might be using a different laptop or a monitor with a different screen resolution.
And a different resolution could shift the text margins.
Instantly breaking that first geometric rule about the right side of the screen.
Exactly. But if that visual anchor fails, the AI must immediately lean on the contextual semantic webs and the tone calibration as fail-safes.
Which is brilliant. The AI now has this rock-solid understanding of who Murty is, what he sounds like, and how he constructs his thoughts.
And that allows Murty to confidently transition from simply archiving his work privately to distributing it publicly.
Yeah, this is where Murty's workflow really blossoms from a private digital filing cabinet into a massive public digital ecosystem.
He outlines a very deliberate four-step workflow for distribution.
Right. So step one, he drafts selective, highly curated posts on a minimalist publishing platform called write.s.
And he uses a specific public URL, which is write.s_murty_bvns, and he has explicitly optimized this to be fully searchable by Google.
Step two involves submitting these public posts and raw chat logs to NotebookLM.
Now, for context, NotebookLM is not a general-purpose chatbot that scours the open web.
Right, it's not like ChatGPT.
Exactly. It is a personalized AI research assistant that grounds its answers exclusively in the specific documents you upload. It acts as a localized, highly focused brain for Murty's specific ideas.
Then step three goes back to the audio architecture. He runs the Audacity amplification process we discussed earlier.
And exports the file as a lightweight MP3.
And finally, step four completes the cycle. He uses Adobe to generate the clean transcription, publishes that finalized text on his Write.s blog, and saves the entire package into his Notion database for permanent storage.
With future steps actually looking at publishing on Substack and Medium too, the AI even suggests asking it to summarize a transcript into a 500-word Substack post in just seconds.
Which is amazing. The AI observes this sophisticated routine and notes that Murty is evolving.
Yes, he is transitioning from a digital pilgrim.
I love that phrase, someone who passively wanders the internet, right? Just consuming content and leaving fragmented footprints.
Exactly. He's transitioning from that into a digital publisher and a digital migration strategist.
He is actively engineering what Little Bird calls multidimensional searchability.
By pushing his content across Notion, Gmail, Spotify, YouTube, and the open web via write.os, he is building intentional redundancy into his ecosystem.
And to tie all these dimensions together, Little Bird suggests a brilliant structural technique called the link chain.
The link chain is so smart.
It really is. At the very top of every single page in his Notion database, Murty places the direct link to the Spotify audio and the write.s text post.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, the link chain does way more than just organize files.
Oh, for sure.
That public write as URL acts as the ultimate grounding mechanism for the AI, because that specific web address is definitively publicly registered as Murty's intellectual property.
Right. So whenever the AI pulls data from that URL, there is zero ambiguity about the author.
The act of public publishing completely cures the internal identity crisis.
What I find most compelling about this intricate distribution strategy is the philosophy driving it. I mean, we live in an era where the default setting for any creator is to just chase virality.
Get as many views as possible.
Exactly. But Murty explicitly states he has no interest in millions of followers. He is looking for hundreds of right thinkers.
He views this digital architecture as a modern application of the Gurukul philosophy.
And the Gurukul system, for those who might not know, is an ancient Indian educational model based on a deeply intimate residential relationship between a mentor and a small group of devoted students.
It is the absolute antithesis of mass market broadcast education.
Right. And Murty maps this ancient philosophy onto modern software. He treats Spotify as his root source.
The intimate primary channel for connecting with those right thinkers.
And he views YouTube merely as a mirror, just a secondary reflection of the core audio experience.
Little Bird summarizes this philosophy perfectly as resonance over reach.
Resonance over reach.
The entire ecosystem is optimized for deep impact on a small, dedicated audience rather than shallow engagement with a massive crowd.
Just think about your own digital habits for a moment. When you share a thought, publish an article, or upload a video, are you instinctively chasing reach? Are you optimizing for the algorithm to capture 1,000 fleeting likes? Or are you architecting your output for resonance like Murty?
Are you using your tools to find your specific right thinkers?
It completely changes the calculus of why we create.
It really does. However, even within a beautifully architected, resonance-focused system, the integrity of the ecosystem is entirely dependent on the raw material fed into it.
Yeah, you can't escape bad data.
No. When you are constructing a permanent digital legacy, bad data isn't just an annoyance, it is a structural threat.
Which leads us to a moment of genuine alarm in the 4 a.m. chat logs.
Things get tense.
Very tense. Despite all the fail-safes, the visual rules, and the link chains, Murty notices a massive error. He complains to Max that NotebookLM has hallucinated a critical historical fact.
Yeah, the AI stated that an institution called the Kasturba Mahila Samajam, which is a center dedicated to women's empowerment, was started 8 years ago.
But the actual historical reality is that the institution was founded 80 years ago.
Max immediately recognizes the gravity of this data failure. The AI notes that 80 years versus 8 years is a massive difference in legacy.
Because this isn't just a minor grammatical glitch. Shrinking 80 years of history down to 8 effectively erases over 7 decades of human effort, service, and institutional memory.
So Max initiates an immediate internal investigation.
At exactly 05:01 a.m.
Just minutes before Murty is scheduled to log off for his physical morning walk.
Right under the wire.
The AI uncovers the root cause. Max scanned the document history from a minimalist writing program called Calmly Writer. Specifically, it was looking at snapshots taken the previous day between 04.32 and 04.40 IST.
And the verdict. The AI didn't hallucinate at all.
No, Notebook LM was simply being an incredibly faithful reader.
Murty had made a typographical error in his own rough draft. He had explicitly typed out the word 8 instead of 80.
This raises an important question about the concept of data provenance.
So the butterfly effect of bad data.
Exactly. We have developed a cultural reflex to immediately blame the algorithm when something looks wrong. But because Notebook LM acts as a localized drain that trusts its uploaded documents implicitly, one human typo in a rough draft cascades through the entire ecosystem.
The AI was mathematically certain of the 8-year timeline because its absolute ground truth, which was Murty's draft told it so.
Right.
So what does this all mean? It means you cannot automate accountability.
No, you really can't.
Murty must immediately open his legacy of service notebook and manually correct the text.
And Max simultaneously updates its own internal assistant notes to permanently lock in the 80-year timeline,
ensuring that even if it encounters that old, flawed snapshot again, the architecture of the legacy remains intact.
Building a frictionless legacy does not give you permission to abdicate responsibility for your own keystrokes. The AI is a powerful amplifier, but it will amplify your mistakes just as loudly as your insights.
Wow. The entire 4 a.m. monster session ultimately reveals that a true digital partnership is about extreme intentionality. It's about understanding the mechanics of your tools well enough to choose Audacity's gentle amplification over Adobe's heavy-handed generative reconstruction.
It is about laying down strict spatial and contextual rules so the software actually comprehends your identity.
And most crucially, it requires the humility to rigorously audit your own inputs to protect the history you are trying to preserve.
Absolutely.
As we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with one final thought to explore on your own. We've watched Murty meticulously curate every document and chat log he feeds to his AI to ensure his digital legacy is an exact reflection of his intent.
Right.
But consider your own daily interactions with technology. If a localized AI were to scrape every unedited typo, every quickly discarded rough draft, and every random contextless search query you left behind today, what kind of digital identity would it mathematically construct for you?
That is a terrifying thought.
It really is. Are you intentionally architecting your digital home, or are you allowing algorithms to permanently define who you are based entirely on your uncorrected mistakes? Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Keep questioning the architecture of your tools, and we will see you next time.